Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second episode of Success Through Struggles. And today we're here with Cindy, and Cindy Gunraj is going to tell us a bit about herself and her story. So again, I'm not going to do too much introduction. I'm going to let Cindy introduce herself and tell us about her business, who she is, and things along those lines. So Cindy, give us a little synopsis. Who is Cindy?
All right, Rachel. Thank you. So Cindy is professionally, she's a transitions coach. She's a teacher, a speaker, and she's an author her book is called Winning Your Parents' Approval for Divorce.
Oh wow, winning your parents' approval for divorce. That must be a tough book for some parents to read though.
Yeah, it was for mine.
I could imagine. So I know that your story is based upon that you would have gotten divorced and it wasn't the easiest transition in terms of your family. So if you could give us a little bit of insight into that background of that story.
Yeah. So, Rachel, I grew up in a heavy knit culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
My roots are Caribbean, Trinidad.
Right.
My mom's from Trinidad. My dad is from Guyana.
Okay.
And then it gets deeper. My mom was Hindu. My dad was Christian.
Wow. Right.
So, and then when I got married, it was in the States, and I met an international student from India, South India. And he was very traditional. So it was just really, I was entrenched in a lot of traditions,
Mm-hmm.
Rules, spoken, unspoken,
Mm-hmm.
cultural taboos. And I found that I didn't know any of this, and I had to really get bumped up and knocked up to learn what I was in.
Wow.
And at the same time, and being in a culture, there's so much beauty too. Food, dancing, get-togethers, that kind of thing. Everybody has each other's back. But then there's a flip side. I realized that for me, it was I couldn't really personally own my own identity or voice.
Right.
I had to step out so I could step back in and really carve away for myself.
Okay, I understand. So based upon what you do right now with your business, we know that the relationship, the marriage would not have worked, right? And you would have ultimately gotten divorced. How did your Christian, Hindu, Caribbean, Indian family take that decision that you made?
Yeah, my parents, they're very traditional. They didn't believe in divorce. It's like you stick it through no matter what, thick or thin, whatever. But, they grew up in a different time and a different area, so things change. And what one would put up with back then, it's not so, because now folks have more access to resources, community,
Mm-hmm.
Health and wellness, mindset things.
Right.
So a lot of the system has changed, where if you want support and want to stand up for yourself in tough situations, it's out there, but you have to be willing to take that leap.
Okay. And did you have the support outside of the family unit? Did you have the support of other persons that would have helped you through that process?
No, not at first. So, first of all, Rachel, it was, I thought I was going to get divorced, I thought I would have my family support.
Right.
Because, at first it wasn't my decision. I was in a marriage where it was like emotional and psychological abuse. And I didn't, when you're in something, you don't know what you're in until you're coming out.
Right.
So I thought, okay, I'm going through all this, at least I can count on the family.
Mm-hmm.
But I came to realize that I was asking for too much because of the lives they lived.
Right. Okay.
So this really helped me.
Right.
This helped me see you have to really meet a person where they are. So no, I didn't have the help when I stepped out. And why I got into transitions is because there's always a really dark night in transitions, where you have to stand by yourself. You can't see what's going to happen. But what you do have is faith and hope that and knowing that when you look back, that wasn't that was worse than this.
Than what they are coming forward, right?
Yes. So the good news is when you stand in that dark place, eventually you will. For me, I learned I wasn't alone. I seek my faith. I seek God, Buddha, whoever it is to you, you know, and the audience listening. But that time in darkness helped me not only tap into God, but my intuition and my instincts.
Right.
And then what ended up happening is people started rising up from out of nowhere to come and support me.
Right. So, and I think when you look at that from that perspective, that would be the reasoning why you decided to start your business based upon your experience, right? So if you could tell us a little bit about what you do, what's the name of your business? I know you have a book. So because I know there are lots of women out there who may be experiencing divorce, or they may have experienced divorce years ago and still dealing with that internal struggle of my family doesn't accept it, I don't have the support. So what do you do in terms of transformational coaching that can help ladies?
Yes, yeah. So, you know, when I work with clients, I have to be honest. Not everybody wants to look at their stuff.
Okay. I get that.
You know, because you know when you have to face that dark night, that's what you're doing. Part of that is what you're doing, because I really had to see a woman and create a woman on the other side that I didn't see when I was growing up.
Okay, so it's a total transformation.
Yeah. So I really what I would say to women that are in a spot that is ready to look at their stuff, you know, what I could say to them is acknowledgement is the first step. First step to anything, because you acknowledge what happens is you claim that hurt that happened to you.
Right.
You claim that, you know, these people aren't for you at this time.
True.
You know, you know, you also claim that, you know, I have to learn how to, you know, what is it like to start being by myself and spending time with me, you know?
That's a tough one. That is a tough one.
You know, right. Why is it tough, right? Because we didn't see this. Some of us didn't see this growing up.
Right.
Right. In fact, we may have seen the opposite.
Yeah. And even those who grew up in single parent homes, for me personally, I would think that you want your marriage to be the fairy tale. And you know, you expect that when this happens, that it will be forever and ever, and you found the one, and you have all these ideas. And then when you realize that it's not working, and you decide you need to step out and be your own person, that could be scary by itself.
Exactly. So, you know, I find women that I work with, they're really, really suffering. So they come because they want to change. They want to stop that suffering. And you know, it's like if you've gone through something big, and you have that dark night, it is a chance actually to create something new for yourself.
True.
You know, so if you could approach it from a place where, you know, I forget who said this in the group now, but somebody had said, with every negative, there's a positive.
Yeah.
Right.
That, yeah.
Right. So I look at it similar to that too. Like, okay, so what is this the opportunity for? You know, when you're going through transitions, like when for example, I work with women in corporate to step up and own their own voice, you know, like say they had to lead a team and all of a sudden they're getting uncomfortable by speaking up, or people may be kind of silencing them or putting them down in a underhanded way. You know, you got to deal with that, you know, because you know why? If you don't deal with it, it's going to come up again in some shape or form. Because I feel life is give us challenges to help us work the skill set that we have in us. So we're going to keep getting the same challenges.
If you don't deal with it, it's going to come back around full circle.
It always does. And some like some different situation, some different person, some different love relationship, what have you. Oh, yes.
True.
Yes.
And
So I was
there's
going back to,
go ahead.
I just want to finish up that
Yeah.
thought. Acknowledgement is the first step that a woman in any of those situations, she needs to acknowledge what's happening in order to see what direction to go.
Okay, okay, makes sense. Just something that you would have mentioned before. There's a word gremlins, and
Yeah.
I would love to know what is that about. So explain to us the whole gremlins concept. What is it?
Yeah, so when I was going through my divorce, one of the things that I did was I looked at my heart, my body, my mind, and my spiritual aspect. I looked at all these four elements, okay? And what I saw in the mindset, and you can do this through coaching, therapy, what have you, okay? There's so many resources out there. But I saw how I had this negative self-talk looping in my head about me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You're not good enough, or you shouldn't ask for too much, or you didn't do enough, or no, you don't want to rock the boat. What will they think of you? So I had a lot of that, and I call them gremlins, because what happens is if you don't look at the gremlins, they're going to start keeping you where you are in your comfort zone, and then it could even start self-sabotaging you.
I think a lot of women can identify with that in terms of the negative self-talk, especially when you're transitioning from one thing to the next. As you would have said, you had to become a new person, and then like, I don't know who I am anymore.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes, because that's how I felt. All of a sudden, I didn't have my parents in my corner. My ex was against me. Lost his parents because the divorce is happening. Social circles were changing, financial status changed, all these stuff changing. So what's left is really me to look at my stuff.
Okay, yeah, that really makes sense. But there are lots of women that they would go through situations such as divorce, some sort of traumatic experience. They go to therapy, say, okay, that was then, and they leave it where it is. But you would have taken up this and created an entire business out of it. What was the rationale behind doing something like that?
Yeah, because I find, and I'll say I went through therapy too, because I find, there was just simply things I didn't have access to in my psyche, and I needed that kind of professional. Okay. So once I did that, the question that came up for me was like, oh, what else don't I know about myself? Or what other lies have I been telling myself about my own ability to, and gifts and talents in the world,
Right.
So then what happens is when you start to get into inquiry, is open up a whole new other world. All of a sudden you want to dive into what you want to stretch, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to see what you're capable of. You become less and less afraid. So with that, there's going to be knocks and bumps there as you step out. So that's really why that's why I love working with women that are in the active stage of creating that new identity, stepping into that new role, wanting to leave that old stuff because they know deep down inside it's not working.
Right. So you saw this space, because as you said, you would have done the therapy, and you saw a space where you could have gotten so much more information, learned so much more, and you would have decided to take that and created a business to help other women in similar situations. Yeah.
Yes, and what's funny is there simply wasn't any material out there. There wasn't any kind of I hadn't really heard anybody talk about the journey I went through.
There wasn't a book to talk to your parents about divorce.
Right? So, yeah, and also the other thing too, I don't know if you learned this growing up, Rachel, or maybe you have friends or colleagues. One of the big things I learned was well, women can't travel alone, women can't be alone. So
Oh,
I
okay.
tested all that. I went and lived abroad for 4 months, like I really had to. So not only did I get training through coaching program, I wrote my book, but I actually walk in the line of fire to question all the things I heard, you
Right.
know, because that really, so um, I find that um, what I'm always learning too, because when I released the book, there was learning there too. I had never written a book, so it doesn't stop. But what I notice is this kind of help for women that they grow up in this entrenched culture. They
Right.
have these stories told to them,
Mhm.
these rules, traditions, and all of a sudden they're trying to up level, if you will, in their life, personally or professionally. Of course, you're going to have to face that stuff and look at it. And I didn't see a resource to help women do that.
Right. I honestly haven't seen anything like that as well. I think what you do is really unique, and that really exemplifies the idea of the success through struggles, because you would have taken what you've been through and said, I don't want other persons to go through this as well. So I want to be able to help them through that journey, and that really is commendable. You mentioned your book. So I don't know if you have a copy that you can just show us and give us a
Yeah.
little bit of insight into the book.
So I have here's the cover, right? You can see it there.
Yeah.
And the hard copy is going to be released internationally and here fall 2020. It was picked up by a publisher. It's getting a lot of attention. I think because of the title is a bit provocative.
I so definitely will catch people.
uh, you know, but more than that, actually, readers who have actually read it, what they said, Rachel, is like a hero's journey for a woman.
Yes, yes, I could well imagine.
So you don't necessarily had to have gone through a divorce or anything like that to read the book.
Of course.
It's more about, are you trying to now play bigger in life or radiate your light, and then cultural things, are they coming in to block that?
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm really looking forward to getting some more information about your book. I know you would have mentioned that you can actually get this book downloaded for free with a special link that you will be providing for us. So I'll definitely be downloading that and taking a read, because I really think that, as you said, it's not just that you have that someone that goes through divorce will have this information. From based upon what you said, based upon what I've known about the different information that you've put out, is really about empowering women to be their full selves,
Yes.
to not function within these societal norms that tell us we can't,
Yes.
and to rise above and just be our full selves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like what I learned, Rachel, from my experience, both professionally and personally, is when you don't have to change yourself in order to fit into a group.
Wow, I love that. You don't have to change yourself in order to fit into a group. That's something that women need to really be aware of. I think society tells us that we are supposed to change who we are. We are supposed to be less of a leader, supposed to be a little bit more quiet, and it doesn't make sense. You can be all female and be all that you are supposed to be a leader, be powerful, be brave, be all of those things at the same time.
Yes. And you know what's funny is, like, society, if you leave it up to society to dictate how you're supposed to act, you're going to fall short, because society sends all kind of signals
Right.
and mixed signals. That's the problem.
True. And I know that leads into the next question I was going to ask regarding imposter syndrome. Because with all these different signals coming, people could end up going, who am I anyway? So how does a woman deal with that in terms of this idea of, well, for those who don't know what imposter syndrome is, if you could give us an explanation and how you could walk someone through that process of overcoming that.
Yeah, so the imposter syndrome happens when you're up leveling, right? When you're in that dark night, you don't quite know who you are or who you're going to be, and you're trying stuff out. It starts to become it starts to feel like an imposter if you start acting certain ways to people please, to meet expectations. You're putting on a facade that doesn't feel authentic to you. So you're coming off in a way that it could be serving the audience or the group at that time, but it doesn't sit really well with you. And that's what I mean when you're in that dark night. You really have to look at your heart set and your spirituality too. Is not your mind. It's not only the mind and the body,
right?
Because we're full instruments, right? And I think we're life. So I think sometimes we get so caught up in just this, the power of this. But what I notice is to really live a full, authentic life, you had to be listening to all levels, all dimensions of yourself.
Correct. Okay, so that would be the advice for any woman that's going through that dark place, that she needs to kind of tap into her whole self, so that she can really know who she is and not have other persons or society or whatever the case may be kind of dictate who she is. And it feels really good when you're your full self and you're your authentic self. And I think that's something that everybody should have the opportunity to experience.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you have taken up the mantle to walk women through different transitions in their lives. And I think this information that we would have gotten here is really, really awesome. And I know it would reach people that it needs to reach. So I just want to say thank you so very much, Cindy, for giving me the time, for coming on here, for talking with us, and for offering us a copy of your ebook for free. And congratulations for your launch in fall. That is awesome. Very, very, very wonderfully awesome. Do you have any closing words for us as we wrap up?
So my word or phrase for the year is radiate your light.
Okay, radiate your light. All right, so we'll close with that. So all ladies out there, the women helping women entrepreneurs, Trinidad and Tobago, let's radiate our light, and with life too.
Yeah, exactly, the whole thing.
Yeah, anyone else who's looking on, you can get a copy of Cindy's book. I'll have the link in the description so that you can have a look at that, and feel free to leave her a review. All right, so thanks so very much for tuning in, guys. Cindy, thanks again for joining.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome. Bye.
Bye.